Have you ever met someone who's learning another language and then suddenly they get more job opportunities, more confidence, or even made friends from completely different countries? And you thought, wait, how did learning a language change their whole life like that? They don't even know the language, they don't use it, but yet they've changed everything about them. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to English with Adam, the podcast where we help you sound more natural and more confident in English step by step. I'm Adam, and today we're talking about something that honestly a lot of people wonder about. Why should you even learn another language, especially English, if you think you're never really going to use it? And also, how to encourage other people around you to learn English without sounding rude or condescending. And by the way, we're going to talk about what the word condescending actually means too, because that's a really useful English word. So grab your coffee, relax for a few minutes, and let's get into it. Alright, first point, why you should learn another language if you might never use it in every single day. And honestly, I think a lot of people quit learning languages because they imagine this huge dramatic goal. Like, I need to move to another country, or I need to speak perfectly with native speakers, or maybe if I'm not fluent, then what's the point? But the thing is, language learning changes your life in smaller ways too, really important ways. For example, English is everywhere. It's in music, game, movies, technology, social media, travel, job applications, tutorials on the internet, even instructions for software or electronics. Sometimes learning English doesn't completely change your life overnight, but it quietly opens doors. And you don't always notice it at first. Maybe you understand a song lyric for the first time. Maybe you watch a video without subtitles. Maybe you help someone translate something. Maybe you get hired at a new job because you speak a little English better than another candidate. Those moments matter, and honestly, they add up. I remember talking to someone online a few years ago who said they learned English mostly just to understand video games better. That was their original reason. Not for work, not for school, not for travel, just to understand games, since back then most games didn't have translation functions and things in them. But then later on, they started joining online communities, talking to people from different countries, learning coding from English tutorials, and eventually getting to work online. And that's what's interesting. Sometimes you start learning a language for a tiny reason, and it slowly changes your future in ways you never expected. Second point, English can help non native speakers in real life more than people realize. Let's talk about some examples. Number one, jobs. A lot of international companies use English, even outside English speaking countries. So maybe you live in Brazil, Japan, Turkey, Mexico, wherever. If you speak English, suddenly you can communicate with more customers, more coworkers, more businesses. And employers notice that. Even basic English can help. You don't need to be perfect. Sometimes people think, oh, my English isn't good enough. But imperfect English that helps communication is still valuable. Number two, confidence while traveling. Even if English is not the main language of your country, it's often the shared language between tourists. So imagine you're in another country and you need help finding a hotel, using transportation, or ordering food. English can become this bridge in the language. And honestly, that confidence feels amazing. You feel less nervous, less stuck, more independent. Number three, access to information. A massive amount of online content is in English. Courses, podcasts, tutorials, documentaries, and research. Sometimes learning English gives you access to ideas years before they're translated into your native language, and that can completely change someone's education or career path, especially now with the internet. And honestly, there's another benefit people don't talk about enough. Learning another language changes the way you think. You become more patient, you become better at listening, you become more comfortable making mistakes. And weirdly enough, you also become more understanding towards other people because suddenly you realize how difficult communication can be, and that experience can help you feel more empathetic. Okay, now let's talk about something important. How do you motivate people around you to learn another language without sounding condescending? Which first, what does condescending mean? Condescending means talking to someone like you think you're smarter, better, or more important than them, like you're looking down on them. For example, imagine someone says, "Oh wow, you don't speak English? That's surprising." That sounds judgmental. Or someone says, "You really should learn English already." Yeah, that sounds condescending too. Even if they didn't actually mean it in a bad way, the tone they say it in matters a lot. So, how do you encourage people in a better way? First thing, share excitement, not superiority. That's important. Don't act like English makes someone more intelligent, because it doesn't. Speaking English is a skill, not proof that someone is better than somebody else. Instead, focus on opportunities and experiences. For example, instead of saying, "You need English if you want to succeed," you would say, "English helped me watch more content online and meet people from different countries." See the difference? One sounds pushy, the other sounds personal and encouraging. Another thing, celebrate small progress. This matters a lot. If someone learns 5 new words, celebrate that. If they introduce themselves in English for the first time, celebrate that too. Because language learning is hard, really hard sometimes, and people need encouragement more than criticism. Also, avoid correcting every single mistake people make. And wow, this one is important. Because if someone feels embarrassed every time they speak, they'll stop trying. Sometimes communication matters more than perfection. Of course, corrections can help, but timing matters. Kindness matters, and confidence matters too. And honestly, one of the best ways to motivate people is simply by enjoying the language yourself. When people see you excited about learning, when they see you understanding movies, making international friends, listening to music, improving little by little, it becomes inspiring naturally. You don't have to convince people aggressively. Your progress speaks for itself. And before we finish today, I want to say something for people listening who feel discouraged. You do not need to become perfect in English for your efforts to matter. Every word you understand, every sentence you practice, every awkward conversation you survive, it all counts. Sometimes people think learning a language only matters if they become fluent, but that's incorrect. Learning even a little can improve your confidence, your opportunities, and your understanding of the world. And honestly, that's already worth a lot. Alright, everybody. That's going to be it for today's episode of English with Adam. Again, this is Adam, and I hope this episode gave you a little bit more motivation, not just to keep learning English yourself, but also to encourage other people kindly and respectfully. Remember, language learning is not a competition, it's communication, it's connection. And step by step, you really are improving even on days when it doesn't feel like it. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or concerns, leave in the comment below or any suggestions. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.